Welcome back to Digging Deeper. Today I'm going to reflect on my interview with Cindy Bishop. And what I loved about our conversation was listening to Cindy openly share about a conflict she had with a coworker and then describing a reflective process that she took herself through. First, by asking herself questions about her own teaching practices and specifically relating the question back to the concerns of her team member. Questions such as, were her children really being too loud? Or was there a way to minimize some of the noise so it wouldn't impact the other classroom? Secondly, she checked her personal perception of her teaching practices against the perception of others. In this situation, she went to the principal and asked for feedback regarding her teaching style and whether it was appropriate in nature. This was a great strategy for checking in and asking if her perception was accurate. Third, she made minor adjustments in upcoming lessons without changing her teaching style. Basically, she became more mindful about what activities she was going to do while paying attention to the potential impact of that lesson on her team members' ability to do instruction in the other classroom. And I want to stop here and make a special note because while being reflective and making minor changes, Cindy did not change her teaching style. Now, many of us would have most likely have felt pressure to do so, and then we would have felt anger or resentment later on. Last, Cindy held herself accountable for how she initially communicated and how going forward she would be more mindful in the future. For example, she talked about how her first conversation did not go as well as it could have because of the timing. Cindy described how in this situation she approached a team member first thing in the morning, and that afterwards she noticed that the other teacher was a little frazzled and not at her best for moving forward with instruction. Noting the impact of her timing, Cindy became mindful that the morning wasn't the best time to approach and became more intentional about speaking with her at the end of the day instead. And the other thing that I loved about my conversation with Cindy was that she talked about the administrative support that her principal had given her and all of the other teaching staff as well. She described that at the beginning of the school year, the principal had given them a communication tool and gave them training regarding different types of communication styles. This training included figuring out their own type of communication, as well as the communication style of their team members. The important thing to note here is that the training was done at the beginning of the school year, before there was even any conflict. This is a prime example of front loading and being proactive. Secondly, when going to the principal, Cindy described how the administrator listened and acknowledged her concerns. She then said the principal validated her skills as a teacher, reinforcing her earlier perception. And last but not least, and actually quite critical, was that the principal did not triangulate or get in the middle of the situation. Meaning, although Cindy went to her with initial request, the principal with an initial request that the principal speak to the other team member, the principal turned it back around and encouraged Cindy to go back and communicate directly with the team member herself. I love this. And here's why. First, the principal stayed out of the middle. Now, if she hadn't, there probably would have been a good possibility that she had just increased her workload, running back and forth between the two team members trying to mediate. I've been there. I'm sure you have too. And second, by not getting in the middle and encouraging Cindy to go back to the coworker, the principal actually expressed faith in Cindy's ability to communicate in such a way that would be productive for both of the team members. And although she was nervous, the encouragement Cindy received gave her enough confidence to go back and approach a potentially difficult conversation. This is a great example of administrator providing psychological safety. I love it. Having said that, triangulation is a really big deal and one where we all tend to get pulled into. In fact, it's such a big deal that I'll elaborate on it later as a topic all on its own. In the meantime, for those of us who do tend to get sucked in, remember the flip strategy from Susan McDonald's interview. I talked about it in day one, digging deeper. So this is where I'm going to stop for the day. First, by reaching out and thanking Cindy for doing this interview with me. Not only did she share her wisdom with us, but she also shared her vulnerability in a way that very few teachers are willing to do. So we thank you, Cindy, for both your wisdom and your vulnerability. And once again, I thank all of you for joining me. And as I always say, reach out, let me know your thoughts.